salute, man.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh!
I love it, baby!
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! By Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back is Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello, win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now. McGrath for the win. He got it.
If you don't like college football and you watch this one, I'm not sure what your problem is.
Reddit did to do, and welcome into this Thursday edition of More Important Issues here on Fan Run Radio. I'm Caleb Mitchell. With me always, Landon Raby in the booth, Joseph R. Boots. That'll be our bar name. It's good to be back here. It is a bye week, and while we wait anxiously to start our trek to Fayetteville, Arkansas, I know everyone's fired up about that. We do at least get a good week of college football between Oklahoma, between Morgan Wallen, between a hurricane that apparently is going to maintain its power all the way through Knoxville, Tennessee. If we make it through this week, I think it's all gravy from here on out. And we'll talk about it more on this show. It's playoff or bust at that point if we get through all of this.
I'm in, yeah. It's got to be. You got to have the willpower, but I think we're pushing through. We just got to get through today, tomorrow. We'll be through the hurricane, and all is well.
That's what the weather people tell me. It's, do we trust the weather people? Are they right? Are the
I hope they're wrong.
I
hope the hurricane is fake.
Obviously, they were right. I don't know if they were right. They were right, I guess. We'll say that. We need them to be right, though, that it's out by Friday midday.
Yeah.
As you can see, you probably can't see the lettering. Shout out to Tony Vitello and the Tennessee baseball team for supporting our golf outing here. Saturday, if it happens. Hang tight. We'll know tomorrow morning.
Yep.
He is so
Speaking
yeah.
it into existence. It's gonna happen.
We'll be there Saturday morning, and there will be a prize. Somebody will go home with a signed batting helmet. It is not confirmed nor denied if that was worn during the national championship game. That is not been confirmed nor denied.
If I'm guessing, it is the one that Hunter Ensley threw down after the slide. That ended up being the game-winning run for Tennessee in the national championship. So that's what we're going with. Signed by Tony Vitello. Thanks for the baseball team for doing that, and we're looking forward to a great day. I don't know, the conditions aren't great golfing-wise, but we're going to get it in. And any day on the golf course is a good day.
You know one thing we did forget?
What?
They got black helmets this year. We still can't confirm nor deny it, so we won't do either of those.
Oh, it was a black helmet,
but
wasn't
they did wear black helmets.
Dang it. It was the one
I'm
that...
still not willing to deny it.
It was the one Drew Gilbert threw after he hit the grand slam.
It actually just landed, and that's how we got it.
Yeah, we found it.
Yeah. The location we got it at was probably about where it landed.
Oh, 100%.
Pretty close to it, at least.
Yeah.
Obviously, a big last week for the Vols. We came at you guys a little early Sunday. We saw the walkout Friday night. We saw the baseball team get their moment with Morgan Wallen. Pretty cool. No matter your thoughts on the Morgan Wallen guy, it's a pretty cool moment. Listen, that thing has, I'm sure, gone viral on every social media platform. It can't be bad for recruiting.
No.
It's also hilarious, the full circle Christian Moore kind of moment where the Where's Morgan Wallen clip.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of,
Finds him.
That's nice.
Found him.
And then
everybody meet up in Neyland. That's the cathedral, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, revival.
A lot of cool stories have come out about that, about the baseball team being there. Just everyone that ran into them, met them. Just we know how every guy we've interacted with that's been a part of that program is just first class. and that's been confirmed through the story. So a lot of cool stories from that on Friday night. Also, though, probably one of the coolest walkouts of all time. No offense to the baseball team. It all had to do with Peyton Manning putting on, you said it, full kit wanker, full uniform. He's even wearing his helmet with the face mask he wore in the 90s at Tennessee.
It had the Orange Bowl sticker on the back. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I could have sworn that dude's head has grown 4 sizes since those days. So
he took all the padding out.
That had to be it. Yeah. That had to be it. I told you guys before the show, I stand by this statement. That was sick. Morgan Wallen, everything looked really cool. I'll never forgive him. He's lost a lot of respect because he did not take the opportunity to catch a pass from Peyton Manning in full uniform in Neyland Stadium. And everyone's going to go, Caleb, it was dark, or there just wasn't enough room. Run a hitch route.
Yeah.
Run a hitch route. And listen, if you drop it, you drop it because you can't see. It is what it is. You're never going to get that in full uniform. You're never going to get that opportunity again. I don't care who you are.
It is tough though. If you do drop that pass, a lot of people are going to be on you about that. It's still really cool.
I'm on him more for not trying.
Okay.
You miss 100% of the shots you never take.
That's true. It's just
in my mind, he dropped that pass anyways.
But the memes of I could already see it.
But you blame it on Peyton. He throws ducks. What do you want him to do?
Well, I'm saying somebody's gonna do Peyton and have the football be the Heisman Trophy and it fall to the ground.
I think that's a chance you have to take.
It's also kind of corny and Morgan's
Was it not corny to walk out in full uniform and stretch? It was sick, but it was corny.
Exactly. So it's I agree. You should have just stuck. Just ride the bit all the way through.
Can we also talk about Josh Heupel just being
a dad?
Oh,
yes.
dude.
Shorts and a T-shirt, and he's just
all black. Oh, yeah.
He looked like they came and drug him out of the film room. I'm like, hey, you got to do this.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't look like he enjoyed it at the end when everything when they shook his hand and stuff, dapped up, if you will. But it definitely looked like they came in and was like, hey, drink this Red Bull so you look a little bit more energized, and let's get you out there, bud.
Yeah. They gave him 2 shirts to pick from. He's like, that one looks cool. I'm going to wear that one. He's never wore that shirt before.
Yeah, no, it was a cool moment, though.
It was awesome.
But I did lose respect not going out for a pass. And then also, listen, I love Hootie and the Blowfish. But Darius Rucker has zero business stepping foot on this campus. And I respect Darius Rucker.
I don't.
Hold on. Hold, please. I respect Darius Rucker for actually being a fan of a team and saying, I'm a fan. I love you all, and I hate everyone else. I respect that decision, but
unlike Kenny
Chesney, but your consequences have actions. Consequences have.
I agree. You would never.
Your actions have consequences. I was like, what happened? Your actions have consequences, and he just played in Thompson Bowling Arena. He shouldn't have sold a single ticket in Thompson Bowling Arena. And then he gets to play in front of 80,000 people in Neyland Stadium? No.
The Thompson Bowling thing is one thing because it's just a stop on a tour and it's in a city. I'd play in Gainesville, but I would never walk out in that's just there's a whole different
I don't disagree. It's different, but everyone associated with Thompson Bowling Arena with the University of Tennessee should have said he is not allowed here.
I agree. He's not welcome to Knoxville.
And again, I respect him for being a fan of his team, but I hate you for it, and you're not welcome here.
Yeah, there was a lot of people up there singing that. In fairness, I'm sure a lot of people are not, especially up.
Well, he can't say F Tennessee when his most famous song is a cover, by the way.
Yes, true.
Mentions Johnson City, Tennessee.
Yeah. Shout out.
I agree.
Go Bucks. Yeah. No, that was a bad move by Morgan Wallen, and he should have gotten booed off stage. I'm disappointed in you two who were in attendance that didn't boo him off stage.
I didn't sing a single word of the song, and I flipped him off the entire time. And everyone around me was like, why? What's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, I'm not going to get into the lore of Darius Rucker versus Tennessee right now.
Well, but you should have told. Everyone needs to know because I think there are some people that don't know.
I see event staff. I was like, hey, who's the special guest? He said, Darius Rucker. I was like, F him.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't like Darius Rucker? I was like, do you?
People just don't know. They're like, oh, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, but you need
Wagon Wheel. No, you don't know that. Watch the video of him saying F Tennessee multiple times.
To be fair, does Morgan Wallen know that? Probably not.
He should. He's a Tennessee fan, apparently.
He should know that.
In fact, if Peyton Manning knew Darius Rucker was there, me and Peyton have not many problems, but we have a problem.
Maybe it's like maybe it is a very specific crowd that knows that, but I thought that was common knowledge. Darius Rucker opposes the Vols very heavily.
It was on social medias.
Yeah, you should have seen the video. And again, to some people that aren't fully committed to the University of Tennessee football program, maybe they don't care.
Well, if you didn't know, now you know.
Maybe
and you
somebody
don't have an
scheduled
excuse.
it, and Morgan Wallen's like, "Who's that?"
It was so random.
I think they play golf together
But did he kind of like
at the Troubadour.
Yeah, I've seen that video.
Did he kind of like one up him and be like, "Hey, you're gonna feature for a show where all these people paid to see me play. You couldn't even fill up Thompson Bowling Arena. I filled up Neyland Stadium twice."
I'm sure it does feel pretty like. maybe that was the play. Maybe like it was like welcome to Neyland. Like you can only ever do this with me, a Vols fan. Like they wouldn't even considering selling out South Carolina.
Whatever they do at South Carolina.
I'm sure that just murdered somebody's ears.
I would just rather him not have played in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, that's true.
In fact, everyone was like, what if we get the Morgan Wallen curse? I think if there is a curse after this, it will 100% be because we let a diehard South Carolina fan who on stage, on video, said F Tennessee play in Neyland Stadium.
It was a big move to bring Miranda after her ex-husband picked Oklahoma on game day.
Yeah, it's just a weird group of guests to bring between. Like,
country music. It's Nashville, baby.
Yeah, but it's probably hard to do that though too.
And Morgan's not a feature guy. Like he kind of keeps like Hardy and Ernest, and like kind of keeps his group small. You don't see him going. He doesn't have any songs with Luke Combs, like Laney Wilson. Like there's no Zach Bryan. Like he doesn't. He just. So I mean that's probably why he brings out Eric Church because they have a song together. And Miranda wrote "Thought You Should Know" with him, and I don't know what Darius Rucker did. He's also Darius isn't like no one's like, man, like that screams like a guest I want to see. Like I'd rather see. I don't even know.
Well, I mean,
Kelsey
it was
Ballerini
just wagon wheel. I mean, that was
the sad part is there are people out there, too large of a population who think Darius Rucker's wagon wheel is superior to Old Crow Medicine Show, and that's despicable. And I do believe that Morgan Wallen's Cover Me Up is very good. I think his voice is perfect for the song. But, and now I'm blanking on his name as I went through all of that.
Isbell.
Jason Isbell is far superior.
Not even close. not even remote.
I don't know. I don't even think I've ever heard the
That's
Cover
insane.
Me Up.
We'll have to. We might be able
He
to
wrote
do it live
it's his song.
Yeah.
I don't even think
There's
I've
a reason
heard
that song never got famous really until Morgan.
It was very famous.
Big, as in like globally. But that's also a difference in times of like, I don't know. I've listened to Jason Isbell's version like several times. It wasn't like a one try. I don't know. But I'm over here like Morgan Wallen.
Did he love some Morgan Wallen?
Yeah.
He went to both shows.
There's a lot of overlap.
My recollection, I only went
I'm
to
not
one.
saying it's Joey. There's a lot of overlap in the people who believe Darius Rucker's version is better, and Morgan Wallen's Cover Me Up is better. There's a lot of overlap there. So, anyways, we are going to talk football eventually on this show. Before that, we've got a little something else. We'll get through that quick. Stay with us on the other side of the break. There's football, I promise. It's more important issues on Fan Run Radio. Welcome back into More Important Issues here in the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. Tennessee is a third of the way through the regular season. We think and hope there will be more than just 12 games.
Yeah, we're fourth of a way.
Yeah. Sorry, a fourth, not a third. Sorry. My fractions. My brain is obviously fried. I don't know. Okay.
You're right for regular season.
Yes.
Per Colin Coward,
yes,
We're thinking 16. We're a fourth of the way done.
That, Joey. So see, my brain's fried. I can't think of anything. But yeah, we're going to talk about some of the individuals on this football team, some of the MVPs. Before we do that, real quick, I said I have one non-football thing. I guess it's a little football related. We're talking about how bad this hurricane sucks, how much rain this sucks. This grounds crew, whoever's paying the utility bill at Neyland Stadium, has to be pumped. They're not having to run that water at all, man.
Oh no.
This best thing for new grass is water. Call Tracy and check that, but I think that's correct for new sod. So I think this is the best case scenario to get this field ready for Florida. I hope.
Yeah, I mean you had to get it down, and they did that I guess around midnight last night, and let it grow, gotta let it grow.
I will say I don't want to say it. I won't even name names because I'll get way too superstitious. If someone has a bad injury because of the grass, does Morgan Wallen become public enemy number one? Like he is.
Darius Rucker. I told you.
But if we have a head and hooker situation, and is it clearly because of the field? Do we just headhunt Morgan Wallen and be like, why would you do this midseason?
We do not condone headhunting of anyone on this show. But
also, it's Joey not his fault. Somebody said yes to the concert midseason, so it's not his fault.
I agree. Okay, fine. Then we'll just go after whoever. I mean, I don't know who even.
I mean, it's probably
Danny.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the final sign off there, unfortunately.
It would be very. The backlash would be awful. People would be like, "That's why you don't do a concert and replace turf."
I mean, if that does happen, that's the last concert, right? Yeah. It never happens again.
I mean, at least even remotely close to, or at least during a football season. Yeah.
So I'm glad I went because that might be the
last time anybody ever performs in Neyland Stadium ever.
Yeah.
I made too much money. Let's talk MVPs of this season. So far, we're not. This may or may not be the final names we talk about. And I think the good news is there are a lot of people I think you could call Tennessee's MVP. And then more good news on top of that is I think there's guys' names who are left off this list, for me at least, that I could easily see being in the conversation over the next 4 games or the next 8 games or however it kind of plays out. Like I think there's a lot of people that I don't feel that they're quite MVP worthy at this point. I feel like they've been incredibly impactful and are just a few plays away from being Tennessee's MVP. Just real quick, an example of that is someone like James Pierce. I think he's been incredibly impactful for Tennessee. He's not in my MVP category yet just because the output isn't quite there yet. And I think he's close, and I think it's helping that I talked about it. We all talked about it before the beginning of the season. Who's the most important for this guy on this Tennessee defense? It's the guy opposite of James Pierce. Whoever that ends up being, they are going to have the chance to feast. My first MVP, it's Tyree West, a guy that's gotten a lineup opposite of James Pierce. And so James Pierce, I think, is going to have that opportunity now that you can't just scheme for him.
Yeah, here's the thing about Tyree West is he had that big bowl game where everybody was like,
who, that guy?
Yeah, highly recruited guy out of high school. It took a little bit to get going, but ever since that Iowa game, he's been Tennessee's most productive defensive lineman. I don't know if he's super talented. I don't know if he's the most talented defensive lineman, but he is definitely Tennessee's most productive defensive lineman at this point. And, I mean, poor quarterbacks when they have to go against Tyree West because he gives them no mercy.
No, not at all. And I think he's a guy that has made the most of his opportunity, and I certainly don't think he's for me, I kind of just picked one guy across that defensive line. I think there's a lot of guys you could potentially name here that I'm leaving off. I think Elijah Simmons is a great example of a guy who maybe has overperformed our expectations.
Had a heck of a year. Yep.
But I think Tyree West has kind of stood out among the rest. I think another guy that's in a similar boat as James Pierce, just on that note, is Joshua Josephs. His output is so close to being there. He's the guy that forced that pick 6 for Will Brooks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's had a lot of big plays, and I think he's in the next 8 games. I think he could easily be in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally go down Tennessee's defensive line and be like, it could be that guy, it could be that guy, it could be that guy. Yeah, I think Tyree West, Joshua Joseph, definitely the guys who stand out along that defensive front. For me, I think it's got to be Keenan Peely. I mean, we've talked about like how people thought he was good at that Virginia game and, was kind of heartbroken when he was out for the season last year, but I did not expect him to be that fast.
No.
I mean, his closing speed is unreal. Now, like, he is older. Does he get kind of that shot in the NFL? I don't know.
I don't care right now. We're focused on this season.
Exactly. But I do think there should be room in any locker room for a guy like Keenan Peely the way he flies around. So I'm going to say Keenan Peely is a big part of that. Just, another year in the defense. I'm sure he spent he had to spend a lot of time last year just watching film and getting better, and props to him for staying focused and getting in that shape where he can play at the speed that he does. But, man, I'm sure it's more fun when you have guys like Tyree West and Joshua Joseph, James Pierce in front of you. But I think he's done a great job in pass coverage too, not just closing on ball carriers. He's done a really good job of, making sure there's no one left open over the middle. He's following tight ends. And then when he gets a shot on a quarterback, he lets them know about it a little bit too. I like that about him. He's kind of like a silent assassin until he's like up close and personal with a quarterback, and he's able to let them know, hey, just be comfortable.
Right. No, so far he looks like your typical kind of energetic, psychotic linebacker. Yeah. And it rocks. I have him. He's one of my guys as well. I agree with everything you said. I think one of the big things that stands out, maybe nature of position, maybe age. Last year, and Keenan Peely obviously was injured, and the year before even too. It felt like when Aaron Beasley last year, Jeremy Banks was out of the game, it was noticeable in terms of leaders being off the field. And obviously I think that's a good sign that points to those two guys, like their leadership. But I also think it says a lot about leadership when the guys behind you can play without you. And if you're off the field, it's not a glaring hole. So I think it almost does feel a little bit different when he's in the game. Just feels a little bit faster, like you said, getting to the ball, his closing speed. But when Aaron Beasley was off the field last year, it was alarming.
Yeah.
You could see the difference immediately. I think he does a good job of commanding the defense, but I also think there's guys behind him that can play, and it's not just a huge, massive hole when he's gone. So, I think that speaks to him a lot. He's on one of my MVPs.
Yeah, he's kind of brought those guys along, and he just looks like the prototypical, like, creative player. Like, if I was to create a linebacker from scratch, it would look a lot like Keenan Peely. I mean, tribal tattoos, you kidding me?
Maybe.
Yeah, long hair.
Yeah.
Married, kids. I'm in.
I'll stay on the defense side of the ball for my next one. Or do I want to flip? Because I know you've got my next one. And I think we probably share a lot of the same. I'll stay on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Do you have any more defensively?
I just have like it's not really a person, but I do think a big part of this team is the way Tennessee has recruited the state over the years.
Okay.
So having, kind of glue guys like Amari Thomas and Bryson Eason, Cooper Mays, one guy that's from the state of Tennessee that keeps getting a lot of recognition now is Deshaun Bishop.
Yeah.
I mean, all those
Rightfully
guys,
so.
were pretty highly recruited except for Deshaun Bishop. And I don't know, Cooper Mays wasn't a huge recruit coming out of high school, but I mean, they've been staples for Tennessee, and guys like Bryson Eason and Amari Thomas are a big reason why that defensive line is the way that it is.
Yeah, no, I agreed. My last one defensively, it's Jermon McCoy. He has been a big staple in why that secondary just looks better overall. They look better. Obviously, haven't been tested a ton in pass coverage against, you had the previous 3 weeks, and then you had Oklahoma, who you thought might test them a little bit more, and maybe one could argue they did try, but you end up in a quarterback competition by the time you leave that game, which is probably a good sign for Tennessee's defense and secondary. Jerron McCoy obviously has that interception. He has a big pass breakup on the first drive on 4th down. He's great in run defense. He's actually the 4th highest rated corner in terms of the player grade on Pro Football Focus right now. So I'm not entirely shocked by that, but it's kind of shocking that he's that high in just terms of like, oh, wow, he is. It's not just my bias talking about how good he is.
Yeah, and especially recruiting rankings aren't everything. I mean, this guy was a 3-star wide receiver coming out of high school, and now he's one of the best corners in the SEC right now. So,
yeah.
Not everything, but yeah, he's been a huge boost for Tennessee, and I think like Tennessee fans, I mean, we needed a lockdown corner. Like we were sick and tired of the last couple of years where, you know, injuries have happened a little bit too to contribute to some of the flaws that our corners have endured the past couple of years. But it's Tennessee's fans are sick and tired of seeing guys wide open on 3rd down and long.
Or any down, pick one.
Yeah. But having a guy that can play a slant like he does, having a guy that just catch the football, has been a big boost. And I think he's probably he's definitely your most impactful transfer that you've probably landed up to this point besides Hendon Hooker.
It's hard not to throw Keenan Peely in that conversation right now.
That's true.
Brew McCoy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I want to say Dante Thornton, but he's got a little ways to go to get there.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Looking
He's
good
having
this
a good
year.
year.
Yeah. My next one, or I guess, just in case, my next one. I think you'll agree with this one. It's Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
It's Dylan Sampson. He is currently the nation's leading scorer with 60 points.
Okay.
He's the 2nd leading rusher in the SEC. I'm not sure where he ranks in the country. I know there's probably some guy. I mean, it's got to be what's his name from Boise State, right?
Yeah, he had like 300 yards in one game, so it's
tough
to beat.
Absolutely got to be him. I'm still in the SEC. I was going to look that up real quick. But yeah, 60 points leads it. He has 10 touchdowns on the year. He is actually ranked in yards. He's ranked 7th in the country. Caleb Johnson of Iowa leads. Ashton Genty, I can't talk. Boise State, he's in 2nd currently. He is averaging 10.5 yards a carry. That's insane. Dylan Sampson, though, leads the country in touchdowns and scoring. His impact for Tennessee right now can't be overstated, man. It's everything we kind of dreamed of going into the season, because that's the thing with Dylan Sampson. With the backs he's had in front of him, you saw what you could get. You've seen him do elements of it. Now he's running back 1. Can he maintain it for an entire game? And Deshaun Bishop is a big factor in helping him get there. Having that someone to help carry the load is huge. But he was called on to be RB1, and he's taken it in stride.
Yeah,
and some.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel a little weird. You know, he had 600 yards last year, but why he wasn't a bigger focal point of the offense? I know Jalen Wright had a phenomenal year, but like that Kentucky game really sticks out. It's like, we could have used more Dylan Sampson last year.
Sure.
And he's like 150 yards away from matching his total from last year. I mean, that dude's unreal.
We also kind of got close to losing him almost. There was the rumors and everything because he was like, he's feeling undervalued. I don't know. I mean, imagine if that would have played out that way, where if he enters the transfer portal, and not that,
I don't like
Deshaun
to imagine
Bishop
that.
Looks like he's fitting the piece well, but he didn't. We're good.
Waited his turn, and it seems to be paid off. And I think this is just another kind of feather in the cap for Josh Heupel and Joey Halzle. Is like, hey, just so you know, we do run the ball. I know, like, national media wants to say it's an air raid, but we've been saying we run the ball, and this is proof when you look at Dylan Sampson and what he's done. Yeah,
absolutely. Anybody else you got that you want to talk about real quick?
Well, I think running for 92 yards against that Oklahoma defense that's one of probably the toughest 92 yards he's ever had to get.
Sure, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, Oklahoma still has a lot of schedule, just like Tennessee, ahead of them. So it's hard to exactly see that right now. But I'm with you. I think by week, 8, 9, everyone's going to be like, wait, Deshaun Bishop rushed for how many yards against them?
Yeah.
I think so. But, I mean, obviously, we'll see how that plays out. It's hard to deny what he did right now even, but I'm okay with saying it's early in the season at this point.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, put him in the Heisman.
I'm shocked he is not.
Got some odds? Does he have some odds anywhere?
I'm sure he does. I'm shocked there hasn't been more around him. And I'll give it to, as annoying as it is, I will give it to Travis Hunter that he just wows you. But here's the thing: are we going to see another Tennessee player lose out to a guy on a losing team? Second time in Heisman history that would happen. The first being Tennessee.
That also played defense.
That was Charles Woodson. I was referring to, blanking on his name right now, the guy that beat out Johnny Majors for the Heisman from Notre Dame, and they were 2-8 or something like that.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most Tennessee thing ever, right?
Yeah.
The Heisman's not real.
No, we don't respect it at all.
Yeah.
I have one more. I don't know if you have any more. One more real quick one. It's Max Gilbert talking about Deshaun Bishop leading the
dog.
Deshaun Bishop. Dylan Sampson leading the country in scoring. Max Gilbert is second in the SEC. He's tied for third in the country in scoring. Guy puts points on the boards for Tennessee. He may look like he's 12. He kicks like he's 35. His only miss came from a 54-yard try, 53-yard try.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah, having a good field goal kicker is never a bad thing. Having a great one is certainly makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside as Tennessee's offense moves into scoring position. So,
yeah. I got one more, and that's Nico. I think you have to throw him in the conversation. I mean, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those probably was not his fault, and I know he got strip sacked twice against Oklahoma, but when you kind of watch that play back, I mean, if the guy's touched, it's probably not a fumble. So, yeah, I just think he's been kind of a difference maker for Tennessee, just the way he can run the ball. I think he's opened up the middle of the field a little bit, throwing across the middle. Tennessee doesn't win that game last year because of the plays that you could not throw over the middle for whatever reason.
Sure. I think you naming those stats too, that makes me feel even better. Of a guy like, I'm not ready to put him in that MVP conversation, yet he has those stats. That's a positive in my mind.
Yeah, and he's still a redshirt freshman. I mean, like, I think people see the ranking of recruiting sites and think like, oh, like he has to be like this good. I mean, it took it took Bryce Young a while for him to kind of get going. It took Tua. I mean, yeah, he had that big game in the national championship, but he didn't play a lot up until that point. So I just think that he's got a lot of football ahead of him, and I think he only gets better, more comfortable in the offense, and I think he can beat you in a number of ways. I think he can run the ball well. I think he just has good control and command of the offense. He's athletic enough to get out of the pocket if something breaks down, and keep his eyes downfield and make plays. But also, like, he has beautiful touch on the ball in those deep passes.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick here, Arch Manning is at plus 3,500 to win the Heisman.
I love that people freaked out.
I think Nico has the 4th highest odds. It should.
Nico is at plus 900. I love Nico. Dylan Sampson, plus 15,000. Put some respect on his name, Vegas. He ain't going anywhere. We aren't going anywhere except this break. We'll be right back. Stick with us on the other side. It's More Important Issues on Fan Run Radio. We are back here in the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's More Important Issues on Fan Run Radio. Obviously, Tennessee still has some questions to answer. You don't necessarily want to be there at the 5th game in the season, but it is involving injuries, and it's involving injuries that everyone said it. I'm not going to sit here and toot our own horn that we were. Everyone said you are thin. Your starting 5 are fine on the offensive line. You're thin. Once you get past there, it gets shaky, and that's been proven. I want to talk about that tackle situation. I do also want to give you my thought on something, kind of hear your all's thoughts. We talked about this on the Chase Thomas podcast. If you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to More Important Issues Wednesdays, I believe he's dubbing it. He said, what's the most important game for Tennessee right now moving forward? And you joked, the coach speak, however Josh Heupel wants to frame it, it's the next one. It's Arkansas. Tennessee, to get to the playoff, which we'll talk about playoff hopes and outlook moving forward, to get to a playoff, 10-2, it is all chalk from here on out. You are going to be favored in every game but 2. You may be favored in every game but 1, depending on what happens between now and then. You are at home for that Alabama game. I suspect Tennessee won't be favored in that. Then you have everything kind of in front of you now. You shouldn't be looking ahead to anybody. That Alabama game and Georgia game, I would love to win it as a fan. I hope the players would love to win it. But your goal is to play in a postseason game that matters. Your goal is to get to a college football playoff. You can do that by just winning the games you're favored in, week by week. I think, as cheesy as it sounds, the next most important game on Tennessee's schedule is the next one.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, this is I know you went and beat Oklahoma, so I feel a lot better about this Arkansas game than I did before.
That wouldn't be my answer if we lost Oklahoma. The next game, that wouldn't be my answer.
Right.
I'd be looking at Alabama and Georgia going, which one can you win? You got to win one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, now that you've kind of got that monkey off your back, I feel better about it. But but like you said, like you don't have to beat Alabama or Georgia to be in the college football playoff.
I really hope you beat Alabama.
Right. But you don't have to.
You don't. Yeah.
So I think there's that. I mean, I don't know what it is like in that situation as a player to have to know that and be like, man, we got to beat a really good football team
in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right.
I think
when you have to go play 2 more SEC games before that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this should be a very much relieving thought. You get it pounded in your head as a player throughout your career that your most important game is the next one on your schedule. You have to focus on this week's opponent, and that's always been true. But if Tennessee lost this Oklahoma game, you're now relying on beating an opponent that you're not going to be favored in. One on the road that is going to be a tough place to win at. And then you're having to do this mental math of who has to lose where. How do we get it? Because there's no shying away from the fact that the goal is to make it into a 12-team playoff.
Yeah. And
so there should be a relief feeling that I can legitimately just focus on Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go win that game, your playoff odds are probably going to jump to 91%. I can just focus on Florida.
Yeah. From now on, like you said, it's game by game. Like, this is the most important one on your schedule. And I just feel like that. I know we got a question about it, but I just feel like the Arkansas game, beating Oklahoma at night and then getting this one at night, as a Tennessee fan, you got to feel so much better about it. Now, I do think Arkansas is a lot better than we thought they would be, especially at quarterback. I feel like no one really knew who this guy was or what he could be.
I think they're fine. They're an okay football team. I think it's similar to Oklahoma. You're looking at their strengths and you're going, that's Tennessee's strengths match up really well with that.
Yeah, it's just not a laydown game
sure.
like you thought it probably was going into the season.
Sure, but I mean, I think that's also just the nature of.
And also, why is this a night game? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because, like you said,
everybody wants to watch Tennessee, man.
Arkansas is okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that full slate.
Yeah, I haven't.
I guess it's not a great one. It's 7 or 7:30. Okay.
I guess the other teams that didn't have a bye week have a bye week that week. So
not Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia strangely jumped Tennessee in the ESPN Power Football Power Index on a bye week in which Tennessee won on the road against a top 25 opponent.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought this up because, and we'll bring it up to Chris Phillips in a minute when we get him on, but why in the world are people acting like Tennessee, like that wasn't a big win? Because the way Tennessee won, because they covered the spread. Because, I mean, if you won 42 to 35, are people still saying the same thing? Like, just because the way Tennessee won and scored points?
We knew if Tennessee blew them out, they'd say, oh, you still haven't played anybody.
Yep.
And now we know that everyone's looking at that score and going, Tennessee's offense can't produce. If they had happened the way you just stated, they'd go, oh, Tennessee's same old defense. And this is part of just being in a league like the SEC, and you're going to get talked about every week in the national media, and then you have the opposing fans who want to just hate you and say you suck. They're going to come up and they're going to find an excuse. I've said it since before week 0. They're going to continue moving the goalpost. Mm-hmm. We just got to throw them in the damn river again.
Yep. I mean, who cares? Georgia played a tight game with Kentucky. They won the game at the end of the day. They go and beat Alabama. No one bats an eye of, Georgia's not the same.
Well, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Georgia doesn't have weaknesses, but I also know that Georgia-Kentucky game, obviously, and this is good for Tennessee, there's some element of Georgia in that. But that's not who Georgia is.
Right. So, I mean, it is week by week in this league.
Sure.
You just got to go win. At the end of the season, when the 12 games are up of the regular season, did you win? Yep. And that's all anybody cares about. And
sure.
But Tennessee did cover against Oklahoma, and people think like, oh, they're not as good as we thought.
And not only did they cover the original spread, which is the Vegas line. Mm-hmm. When you see that line move, unless there's a significant injury, which there wasn't Oklahoma, their injuries we knew going into that, well into that week, those injuries. That line moved because people were betting on Tennessee. It didn't go up because Tennessee was seen as a 6.5-point favorite. It went up because the money was there. That's it. Nothing changed. Yeah. Congratulations to all you that bet on Tennessee. I'll never do it again. Looking at this tackle situation, obviously, it's just the stuff with Lance Hurd, it's not ideal. You want to get him back. I also think there's something to – I think I would have liked to see him travel, try to go against Oklahoma. If you're not 100%, that game had it had massive playoff implications.
Yeah, it's important.
And so, but I also don't know exactly where he was at.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't know if we'll get to the full story eventually probably, but not anytime soon.
Who knows what of that's real, true.
And if he could show up at Arkansas and play the rest of the season, and who cares?
And then you're looking back going, glad he sat that game. He wasn't fully ready. Now he is.
Yeah. He just knew that field was crap.
Right. And then you obviously look at John Campbell Jr., a guy who hasn't played as many snaps as you would like your starting tackle to play. You heard Josh Heupel. He expects them to play at Arkansas. I don't know how much of that is real, how much of that is coach speak. Obviously, I feel like Josh Heupel's been more of the guy like, hey, we'll see day by day. Go in the training room after this. Much more just reserved about it. So that's encouraging, I guess, to me. I said it. I think every game is obviously so important. I'm not just looking at Oklahoma. I'm not just going to the next one. But you really need these guys back. I don't know where the line is of how healthy can they get, but the fact of the matter is, right now, Dane Davis, Larry Johnson, they're not getting it done. Mm-hmm. Good news is there's a bye week. I think this is a week where they've got to focus in and figure it out.
You
have to figure it out.
Spoon feed them. Because, what you have in Lance Hurd and John Campbell, put them in bubble wrap. I mean, they don't need to practice.
They don't leave the
week.
training room.
No. They don't need to, because how important they are. You saw that in Oklahoma. You know how important they are to winning really big football games. You have to have those guys, otherwise it becomes really difficult, to win a game against Georgia and Alabama without those two guys. So, put them on bubble wrap and then force feed Larry Johnson and Dane Davis at tackle. Force feed.
And I do
Jesse
think
Perry, Bennett Warren, those guys.
And I do think the guys you've seen prominently, Dane Davis and Larry Johnson, they've done okay jobs.
Yeah.
They're also being asked to play way more than they should be asked to play. And their mistakes are being highlighted because of the positions they play and because of Tennessee's style of play. And I think you don't want to rely on them for 60, 70 snaps a game. And so I'm not asking John Campbell and Lance Hurd to come back and play those snaps either, because you do have guys that I think can get it done for small periods of time.
Dane Davis has played a lot of football at Tennessee.
And and it's not all been bad like a lot of people want to pretend because of Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was a bad game.
Sure.
Got to wash it out.
Yep. So I do think, and listen, I think as much as it's on Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr., that they've got to get it right, get back. I also think you look at Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley, and let's say we don't have one of those guys, either of those guys come to Arkansas, it's also got to be one of those things that we've seen Josh Heupel adapt. We've seen him be flexible and tailor his entire game to his defense last week. We've also got to see him be flexible on the offensive side of the ball. I think you have to be focused on getting running back help to those areas. You have to be focused on getting tight end help to those areas. Because Tennessee's passing game, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the nature of football right now. You need the explosive plays you get in the passing game. And those wide receivers, they've got to help too. They got to be better than they've been so far. But we got to also get them the football. And I know we're thinking, well, you want those tight ends in the passing game. They've produced a lot in the passing game. You need them. The passing game's not going to be there if we can't block the ends.
Yeah.
And so you have to say, at some point, Deshaun Bishop's been really good in pass coverage. He's rated really highly right now. Dylan Sampson's been okay. He's had some moments. He was part of that first strip sack. But at some point you have to say, we've got to make sure these guys are in to help. We've got to get a tight end over there to chip them, slow them, do something. And I think that's part of the thing that they have to sit down, see the film, and go, if we want to run some semblance of our offense, we've got to have some tight end help here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to count on John Campbell to be healthy every single week. Like, that's just the reality of it. He's not played a whole lot this season. Last year he dealt with injuries, so I think it's something where, like, who's your third guy? Because you're going to need that guy probably just as much as you need John Campbell.
Yeah,
to this point.
I will say too, another encouraging thing, and I'm going to see if I can't pull it up. But
here's another thing. While you're looking that up, Tennessee can win without that. And they proved that on Saturday. They can go beat a decent football team with who they got.
Sure.
Yeah, is it pretty? Is it different? But Tennessee can absolutely become a Big Ten team and run the football down your throat and play really good defense and win a game.
I'd like to see a little more balance, but they can. They can. And I think there are games you're going to need more from your offense because I'm not someone who's going to sugarcoat it. Oklahoma's offense isn't great this year. Now, a lot of their troubles on Saturday came from them playing a really good defense too. Like I'm not willing to sit here and pretend that Oklahoma's great. I'm also not willing to sit here and pretend that Tennessee didn't do things to disrupt that offense.
Yeah. They
got a quarterback benched, a 5-star quarterback that Oklahoma's – I mean, there are probably already kids named after him. Well, let's be frank about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Tennessee's defense can get it done, but you want and need that tackle position desperately to help Nico out. And you've already seen Josh Heupel adapt some. I mean, I don't think we've really seen him sprint or roll out much at all this season, and you saw design plays to do that several times against Oklahoma. And Nico can throw on the run, so I'm not really worried about that either.
Who's Oklahoma's starting quarterback 2 weeks from now?
If you make the switch, you gotta go.
I just think
does he redshirt?
I don't know, but you got a lot of faith in that guy for coming in, and you know he did some things well, but you know there's a lot of freshman magic. I mean, we've seen everybody thought Harrison Bailey and Brian Maurer were going to be really good because some of the plays they made in some games. So
again, I think he looked a lot better.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful with it though. You don't want to just throw Jackson Arnold under the bus because you don't know when you're going to need a guy like that.
That has passed Brett Venables by, my friend. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Guys, we have a very special guest coming up at the top of the hour. It is Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. He has been on an SEC tour. He heads to Alabama and Georgia this week. That would have been a great bye week game. We've talked about going to Death Valley and some other places, not for Tennessee games. We've got to try to plan some bye weeks better. See about getting to one or two.
Yeah, we need to do that.
We got to get on it. But yeah, he's on.
It's also just a nice break.
It is, which we skipped out on because of the golf tournament this year, but it is.
Yeah, it's nice to just like relax and just watch football.
No, agreed, 100%. But yeah, we have Chris Phillips on, going to talk some SEC teams, playoffs, and a little bit of his tour. Stick with us on the other side of this break. It's more important issues here on Fan Run Radio. Welcome back into More Important Issues here in the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. Big week in Tuscaloosa. Big week in the SEC. Big week for maybe some playoff implications. Those two teams will probably still make it, whoever comes out the loser. Going to that game, a guy that's got everything SEC for you. We have Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Chris, thanks for hopping on. How are you doing tonight? Stick with us. We will get Chris on in a moment.
Yep.
I love that's my favorite thing about. Obviously, we have the issues with technical difficulties on our streams, video, but it's always fun on the phone seeing if we can't get someone on. I love that.
Yeah. All good. We'll just keep rolling then.
I think, did we get Chris? No?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
There we go. All right, cool. I was talking and y'all couldn't hear me. No, boys, it's a pleasure to jump on with you, man. I'm actually touched down in Alabama, Birmingham to be exact, about an hour or so ago, and getting cozy at the Airbnb and hanging out. We'll embark on Tuscaloosa tomorrow, man. So yeah, really excited to be down here. Excited to jump on with you guys too, man. Really proud of you guys and the work and everything. And for those that don't know our journey and story, obviously we've come a long way, and you guys are self-made. Really proud of the work you guys are doing, man. So congratulations. The success is deserved. And again, excited to chat with you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, we for those who don't know, us and Chris kind of started our shows around the same time and had some similar journeys. And, and now he's covering everybody. He loved it so much. He didn't want one team. He wanted all 14 now. So
16. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, 16. Whoa, sorry. Sorry to cut you short there, Chris. Thanks for hopping on, and we're super excited about it. Super excited to see you. We saw you in Charlotte, so that was awesome to see you again. I think I saw you, was it 2 baseball seasons ago?
It was 2022,
okay.
Landon, which, funny enough, that not to go into, not to spend the entire segment talking about it, but that was kind of really, I think, the moment where the wheels started turning for the idea of SEC Unfiltered. The way Tennessee folks really embraced me and, our content, everything we were doing at that time. And, of course, it was South Carolina focused, but a lot of Tennessee folks, a lot of Tennessee buddies that I'm still close with, they had just mentioned the idea of how cool it would be to expand everything. And, again, that got the wheels turning, man. So I got a lot of love for the folks in Knoxville and Rocky Top, and really excited to get up there later this season, man. There just might be a third Saturday in October. You might see SEC Unfiltered gracing and I've never been to a game at Neyland, so that will be an incredible experience.
Well, we can't wait for that. We'll get some orange ready for you. So I don't know if you have any, but we'll have some ready for you.
I know there's plenty in the city.
Yeah, it'll just, you don't have to necessarily put on a Tennessee shirt. Maybe just a More Important Issue shirt. If it happens to be Tennessee orange, it is what it is. I mean, you can't do anything about it.
We're not super creative, so we just go with what we have.
Is that? I know when we talked, Chris, that it was more than likely going to be that week for Knoxville for Tennessee on the tour. Is that official? Is that set in stone?
So I wouldn't say it's set in stone, but it's probably about 99%.
Okay.
I mean, for example, before the season, I kind of thought that Oklahoma, Tennessee would be our destination for last week. I ended up going to Auburn, Arkansas. So there's been some last-minute changes, just depending on quality of game, ease of travel, just stuff like that. But yeah, I feel pretty confident in saying that Tennessee, Alabama is going to be the game for us that weekend. So looking at the schedule, looking at the way everything sets up, I mean, the only other game I think it maybe could be is the Kentucky game, because I know that's a night game at Neyland, and I would love to obviously experience it under the lights, but you just can't beat that third Saturday in October, man. So I'm pretty sure we'll make the announcement, obviously, as we get closer to it, but I feel pretty confident saying you can expect us to be there for that game.
Yeah, you heard him. You can lock it in. It's official.
Congrats.
There you go. What else have you been to? You mentioned Auburn, Arkansas. What else has been on the tour? And then follow up to that too. What's been the premiere? What's been the highlight?
Yeah, so week 1 I was in Gainesville for Florida, Miami. Week 2, obviously in Charlotte with you guys for the Tennessee NC State game. Week 3 went down to Columbia to watch South Carolina LSU. And then last week, Auburn, Alabama for the Auburn-Arkansas game, as I mentioned. Guys, what's interesting, and I know you boys will love this as Tennessee folks, and I know the Tennessee fans chimed in will love this as well. I've been to 3 on-campus games and in all 3 of those games, the home team has lost. And so I'm in Tuscaloosa this weekend. So I'm sure there's a couple of Tennessee fans out there that wouldn't exactly shed a tear if the Crimson Tide fell to Georgia this weekend. So we'll see if that continues. And, the first 2 games as well, I saw complete blowouts. And finally in Columbia, we got a really thrilling back-and-forth game. And then even this past weekend in Auburn, which was a great experience. They've all been great experiences. Not to cop out on the answer or anything, I would say week 1 in Gainesville was really, really cool. Florida those folks really rolled out the red carpet for us. I mean, I had never experienced Gainesville before. So, it was really, really neat. And you'll never forget the first one, obviously, of the tour. But I tell you, probably the most fun I've had thus far was in Auburn. I mean, we had a really good time because I had buddies on both the Auburn and the Arkansas side. So, beverages were consumed. I learned a little bit about the Auburn nightlife on Friday and Saturday. I mean, obviously the game and the tailgate and stuff was electric too. So they've all been really, really fun guys in their own unique way. And, I think that's the beauty of it all. So I'm excited for Knoxville. I know the Knoxville boys are going to show me a really, really good time for a game day weekend.
Yeah, well, if your streak continues, we might have to put a change of plans into that one.
Yeah, have you thought about Athens a little later on in the year? How's that looking?
Athens will be on the – no, listen, it's funny. I'm actually thinking the Georgia game we go to is probably going to be Georgia-Tennessee.
So far, I like the sound of that. Keep that up.
I mean, listen, there's no way we can go defeated for the entire tour because I'm sitting here like I want to see a home atmosphere like really – it's different being around town after a win versus a loss. So, I'm kind of want to see that at some point. I don't know if that's going to happen. But, game day guys, too, the home teams are 0-4 where they go. So, I mean, maybe it's not just a me thing. It's just kind of a everybody thing. I don't know.
Fade Lee Corso, that's what you're saying.
I think Josh Fade, too, where he's gone, the home team lost. So I don't know what it is.
I guess the picker. Whoever the picker is, we fade them.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Exactly.
Blake Shelton.
I'm curious. We're going to talk a little playoffs with you and get your thoughts. Just looking at the SEC, which right now is actually taking up a bulk of the playoff spots currently, SEC rankings, I think everyone kind of has their 1 through 4, 1 through 5 set in stone. Are yours any different? And then let me hear those like 6, 7 spots. Like who's maybe almost in the conversation?
Yes, I mean where I might be different, guys. I've still got Georgia at number 1. I've got to see them fall before I knock them. I know Texas has been really good, obviously, and Tennessee has been excellent, but I'm not overreacting to the game that happened at Kentucky. I mean, I know Georgia didn't look great. And, we're going to learn a lot more this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Can they find some explosives? Does Carson Beck step up and rise to the occasion? They got to get healthy, obviously, on both lines of scrimmage. Tate Ratledge will be out for this game. They are getting healthy on the front 7, but I haven't moved Georgia out of 1 yet. I'm still a believer in Georgia. I'm a believer in Kirby Smart. So I could be wrong, but I'm just not ready to move them out of that 1 spot yet. But, yeah, I mean, the rest are pretty typical, right? I mean, I've got Texas at 2, Ole Miss. Or actually, I moved Tennessee up to the 3 spot after the win at Oklahoma. These are my power rankings now. So, I mean, to take it for what it's worth.
Right.
And Ole Miss, I told people it wasn't because of anything they didn't do. It's, because I think you go on the road in a place like Norman, Oklahoma, and beat a quality opponent, you should be rewarded for it. So I bumped up Tennessee to 3. I'm still really high on Ole Miss, obviously. I'm excited to see them actually play somebody with a pulse this weekend. Not that Kentucky's great, but they do have a pulse, I think.
Right.
So I've got Ole Miss in that 4 spot. And then at number 5, I've got Alabama. So, again, you might see some different people having some different placements for those teams. And then outside of that, guys, I think those are the 5 that I look at and say, these are the teams that I think realistically have a shot to win the SEC championship. I think after the 5th spot, there's kind of a gap, if you will, because Missouri hasn't looked as good as maybe I thought they would. Now, again, I'm not totally selling all my stock on Mizzou, but I've got questions about them. I think LSU, I mean, what are they? They cheated death in Columbia, essentially, and lost that season opener to Southern Cal. So, those would be kind of the next tier. And then after that, guys, I mean, really 8 through 14, just who knows on any given Saturday. I mean, those are kind of your chaos tier, if you will. So those top 5, like you mentioned, and Tennessee certainly firmly in that. Those top 5 are the ones I look at as, the most serious college football playoff contenders. And I think those are probably your SEC championship contenders as well.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before about the kind of Oklahoma game and what like kind of national media is talking about it. What did you think of Tennessee's win at Oklahoma? You mentioned you rewarded them for it. a lot of people are like, Tennessee's not as good because the way that they won, but they covered the spread. So I'm a little confused on how I'm supposed to take this game.
Yeah, so that game, first I'll say kind of went as I expected it to. I thought Tennessee would be in that control of that game from start to finish. I just did not think in the trenches Oklahoma was going to be able to hold their own. I think that's exactly what happened right now. I didn't have Jackson Arnold getting benched on my bingo card, but, sometimes you have to expect the unexpected. But, guys, I thought Tennessee completely controlled that football game. And the thing that, I think the thing that probably folks nationally learned, because even probably a lot of folks nationally didn't tune into Tennessee, NC State. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But, outside of that, you had the other two inferior opponents that the Vols beat up on. But this was the first, real primetime stage where a lot of people got to see that defense. We know about Nico, but the defense is why I was excited for Tennessee this year. Because with Josh Heupel, they're going to score points. It's going to come in bunches. The quarterback's going to play well. But that front seven is just relentless. It's the most defensive depth, I feel like, and you guys could speak to it, that Tennessee's had in quite some time, and probably one of the best defenses Tennessee has fielded in quite a while as well. Now, again, as we go throughout the season, I got asked this week about, you still question the secondary a little bit, and there's going to be stiffer tests, certainly, than the Oklahoma passing game, but I think the front seven for Tennessee is so good, they're going to mask a lot of that. So, guys, I saw some people talking about margin of victory, and to your point, Tennessee did cover the spread. But, guys, if Tennessee wanted to win that game by 30, they could have won it by 30. Sure. I think we've probably all seen the clip at this point where Josh Heupel leads in and tells Nico, hey, just want you to know we wanted to put it on the defense there at the end. We kind of, reeled it in a little bit. I don't know how that guy got that video, by the way, of just him saying that, but he did. And, yeah, I certainly think they didn't exactly have the foot on the gas pedal in the second half. Wanted to win it with defense. Tennessee wanted to win it in a street fight, be physical, and they did, lean on the running game. And I think that's what's really exciting, too, guys, is, Nico's playing nowhere near what he's going to be playing in maybe a couple games or next season or whatever. He has not even come close to reaching his full potential, and Tennessee is doing what they're doing. So I think it's really cool to see that Josh Heupel and company have embraced defense so much. You listen to him talk, and he's talking about the greatest defensive players in Tennessee history, and you're like, wait, you're an offensive guy. This is supposed to be Tennessee where you're averaging 42 points per game, and we're just praying to God the defense isn't going to, lose the game for you. And now Tennessee's got a little bit of both. So I said it this week, guys. I think this is the team that ball fans have been waiting on. And I'm not saying, Tennessee's going to win a national championship, but I think you have to start having that conversation. I think Tennessee could win a national championship. And I'm not trying to set the expectations too high, but, I think Tennessee's a team that can beat you in a multitude of ways. And for me, it's the defense. That's where the excitement comes. That's why I had Tennessee in my playoff for the season, because they're going to score points. I think we all agree Tennessee upgraded at the quarterback position, with all due respect to Joe Milton and the weapons that were coming back and the offensive line. But that front seven and that defense as a whole is why I was excited, and I think everybody nationally got to see that on full display on Saturday night for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a Tennessee fan, I agree with everything you said. I hope it reigns true throughout the season. You mentioned how someone got that video. Let me throw out a little Tennessee conspiracy theory. Maybe you can use this in SEC conspiracy theories now. Josh Heupel knew exactly where that camera was. He was very emotions controlled. I am excited to return home. All respect to Oklahoma for my playing career, for giving me my start in coaching, blah, blah, blah. All the classic, just take the high road coach speak. How unhinged and pissed off that comment made Oklahoma fans feel, I kind of think that's a plant. I kind of think he saw the camera, took his opportunity, and just threw a little quick jab in there that may have been the final blow to Oklahoma fans. They're on edge about it. So
yeah, I did. It's funny. I did see that comment that somebody said that this happened on purpose, and listen,
Josh Heupel's, I thought that was an original thought. That's very upsetting.
Yeah, Josh Heupel's a smart guy. I don't doubt it. I think he did a good job, obviously, as you would expect, of keeping it together and being professional and just not making it about him. I think, obviously, and I think that's probably what he tried to do all week, was not make it all about him and him going back, because it was about those two teams playing against each other. But yeah, deep down, that one was personal. That one was really personal, and I think it says a lot about Josh that he didn't try to score 50 on him, So, but to your point, I think it's it's more insulting that he didn't and he could have than if he just would have.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when
That's
kind of like when the opponent knees it at your 5-yard line to close out the game, and you're like, this hurts worse than them just shoving it down our throat. You know, like they're taking mercy out on us, which is essentially how Josh Heupel sort of positioned that. So
yeah, he didn't have to go to the media and be like, I could have scored 40 points. He just made sure a camera was there and hey, Nico, we could have scored 40. So
yeah, and to that point, like I like Oklahoma fans a lot. I mean, they interact and engage with our content a ton. So big fan of the Boomer Sooner folks. Like they're great. But I did see some Oklahoma fans with that energy of because my post game reaction was Tennessee pounded Oklahoma. Like that's how I felt. I mean, I thought they pounded them, and Oklahoma fans were like, "No way! Like look at the score! Like look at." I'm like, dude, that game was never in doubt. Like come on! Like I mean, you can't sit here and try to say like that was a close game. Like it wasn't. Like it wasn't. I don't care what the score says. Like Tennessee was in full control, start to finish, and anybody who says otherwise, I just don't think watch that game.
Yeah, well, I do think there's an element to your point earlier about how Oklahoma held their own in the trenches, that the game felt, and this may have been from you're obviously an unbiased observer there, but it felt a little bit tighter than maybe it was throughout. Mm-hmm. and I think that goes into especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, Tennessee kind of had their way with them, but defensively they kind of wreaked havoc at the line of scrimmage for the most part. And obviously Dylan Sampson got his due and put up an impressive day. Deshaun Bishop had a nice day. But I do think there was an element of where that game felt just like, while the offenses didn't look impressive, did feel a little heavyweightish on the defense where there was just, slugging after slugging. And I think maybe that gave some false hope of that game being close to Oklahoma fans.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I would say this too, that I think the other thing that was so impressive about Tennessee is, and you probably heard this a lot this week, but people will tell you that the best teams can find the most amount of ways to win, right? They're not a one-trick pony. So we know Tennessee can beat you in a track meet. We've seen it already. They can just go up and down the field on you, and they're only going to get better at doing that with the continued progression of Nico Iamaleava. So, and the weapons they have on the outside. But I think Tennessee showed they can slow it down and punch you in the face. I mean, that's what they did in that game. I think they realized early on, hey, this quick, like we normally do with tempo, we got to go away from that, do something different. And I thought Tennessee slowed it down, and they're like, hey, we're just going to run it right at you and play a physical game, and we'll win a boxing match too. So, I think that's something as a Tennessee fan you got to be really excited about. You want the offense, obviously, to be multidimensional, and I think Tennessee showed they can do that. So, yeah, I mean, it was a solid win all the way around, guys. And yeah, to your point, maybe Oklahoma had a little bit of false hope there, but no, I think that was one. The balls were in complete control, start to finish, and I think definitely made a statement nationally to the college football world.
Yeah, you've practiced that last name. You've.
I did. I said that on purpose to kind of flex the audience.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
You notice before I say it, I kind of have to take a pause and gather myself, because if you don't, it's a very easy word to trip and stumble.
Oh, you said it with confidence. I liked it.
I'm impressed you can pause. If I pause, I can't say it. I have to just say it without thinking.
Dude, I can tell you this. So over the summer, I was still struggling with it. It was preseason camp for everybody. But I was struggling saying the name. But I went to the video of him sounding it out and probably watched that 100 times. So
I've practiced it a lot. On my way to the NC State game, in the drive over, I practiced saying it a bunch of different ways, because normally I'm just speaking like this. I was like, I got to yell it because I'm probably going to yell it at some point. Got to whisper it. I might whisper. I was like, I got to be able to say it in every possible way. If I spoke other languages, I might have tried to do it with an accent. I was like, I just got to nail this down in every way imaginable. So I'm with you. You're not alone. Tennessee fans are in that same boat. There's been a lot
what happens
of
though, you get in the heat of fire, and that camera cuts on, or it's a high pressure moment. That's when you really know if you can say it or not.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, look,
I've even said it in my announcer
now.
voice.
Let's see. Yeah, there you go.
Chris, to kind of get away from Tennessee a little bit, I know Tennessee fans love to hear about Tennessee, but I do want to switch it to Tennessee's next opponent, and that's Arkansas. You mentioned you saw them in person last week. What did you think about the Razorbacks, and what does kind of that matchup look like to you in 2 weeks?
Yeah, so saw the Razorbacks, like you mentioned, in Auburn. And, guys, I'll give you a little little teaser here. So next weekend, the destination is undecided at the moment, and there is a good chance that if Arkansas beats Texas A&M, we may be making the trip to Fayetteville. So if you're out there, folks, we may see you there. Exactly. So awesome people, awesome fan base. They've invited us out, and I'm like, well, and we might go even if they lose, to be honest with you. I haven't totally decided, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know. But, no, I mean, listen, I think Arkansas – I think it's a game Tennessee should win. I mean, if we're looking at it right now, I do think the Vols, especially coming off the bye week, right, like, that extra week to rest up and kind of work some things out. I do think it's a game Tennessee fans should expect to win. But, guys, we know going on the road in the SEC, night game environment, Arkansas, especially if they beat Texas A&M, they're going to be rolling in with some momentum. They're one of those teams that is dangerous because they're inconsistent. And so when they're at their worst, they're really bad. But if they have one of those nights, if Taylon Green has one of those nights, and again, he can be really, really bad when he's off. I mean, he was these last 2 weeks against UAB and Auburn, he's been under 50% completion percentage. I mean, he just hasn't been very good. His legs have really saved him more than anything. That and the fact that Auburn just cannot hold on to the football to save their freaking lives. That's the two things that I think saved Arkansas in that football game. But they've got talent. I think their wide receiver room is very underrated. Like, I think that could be a solid test for Tennessee. It's not like a step up to the point where you're facing the most elite wide receiver core or passing game in the country. But I think Arkansas's got some dudes that can win some battles. Like, I think they've got some guys, Andrew Armstrong, Satania, Tyrone Broden, that can make some plays. And I love their running back, Jaquindon Jackson. So they got some pieces on the offensive side. Defensively with Travis Williams, I think Tennessee should be able to move the football. So, I think it's a game again. You're a Tennessee fan, you expect to win that game, but that's just kind of one of those guys sneaky SEC road tests. Like, we're all familiar with those where no matter what the spread says or what you've seen from that team, night game atmosphere, and guys, I'll also put this bug in your ear. From the folks that we've talked to at Arkansas, apparently they have put feelers out there because if Arkansas beats A&M, there is a chance that College Game Day will follow to Fayetteville. Now, I think a lot of that's probably the Tennessee effect, but still, you get College Game Day. So,
there you go.
Could be one of those big-time atmospheres where Arkansas fans are obviously kind of just selling out on the possibility of pulling a big-time upset. Again, game that Tennessee should win, but sneaky little road test that and I think the Vols obviously be prepared if they're going to Norman. I mean, that was a raucous environment in its own right. So, but Arkansas, again, one of those just up-and-down, inconsistent teams. You saw them win at Auburn. It was sloppy. We'll see what they do this weekend against A&M. They're a team that's really hard to figure out. But if they bring their best, I think they could give Tennessee a game. But certainly the one that I expect of all is to come out on top.
Yeah, I definitely. I think that's the biggest kind of, sentiment of next week is that Vols will be favored. It will not be an easy one to go do. I think Tennessee's going to have to be flexible like they were against Oklahoma. You talked about great teams find different ways to win. I'm not sure which way it'll take Tennessee to win. I'm not sure if it'll be something we've seen before, but certainly have to be flexible in that one.
I think there will be plays to be made in the passing game. Like Auburn had them. They were there.
Yeah.
They just couldn't. They shot themselves in the foot every single time.
Yeah. It was too little too late, right? Hank Brown had 3 interceptions, and then they put Peyton Thorne in, and he kind of lit them up.
Yeah, they don't have a Nico, that's for sure. They do not. But no, I think the opportunity for big plays will be there. I think, again, we're looking way far ahead, but I envision that game. It's probably going to be a scenario where Arkansas just couldn't keep up because I do think Tennessee is going to score. Like, I think the opportunities to make big plays and have explosives are going to be there. But, again, guys, I know Tennessee just went into Norman, won that big road game, but I think it's still like I'm sure the Vols have this chip on their shoulder, too, of people I think are going to ask that question every time they go on the road of like, hey, man, is this the one where Tennessee just is a no-show? Like, we've seen this before. So it's just continuing, I think, to prove that, putting your best foot forward and playing your best football away from Neyland just as well as you do, obviously, in Knoxville.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Landon, if you had something.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, kind of SEC as a whole, who is your most overrated team? And I guess you can give me an underrated one, too.
Most overrated team. That's a really good question. That's a good question because I we're starting to finally get into the meat of the schedule, guys, where teams are going to start to separate, right? Because it feels like it feels like coming in, not to give a boring answer, but it's like, well, the teams we thought were going to be good are pretty darn good, and the teams we thought were going to struggle, they're struggling. And so, like, there hasn't been like any just like there isn't a Florida State in the SEC where it's like, oh my God, they're just terrible, and we thought they were going to be pretty solid. So, I mean, it's easy to throw like a Missouri in there, right? I didn't think they'd struggle with Boston College and Vanderbilt, but you know, again, I feel a little bit hypocritical, guys, because I give Georgia a lot of credit for going at Kentucky and finding a way to win. And, you know, and then I'm going to hold Missouri's feet to the fire when I think Vandy would beat Kentucky right now. Like, I think Diego Pavia and the boys, I know this is obviously a Tennessee show, so I'm not going to show too much Vandy love, but Vandy's dangerous. I think Vandy's going to win a conference game. Like, I'm not saying it's Tennessee, but I think they're going to beat somebody. Like, they're going to steal a conference win. I will say Kentucky has disappointed me. I thought Kentucky could be an 8-win team this year. They are just so anemic offensively. Guys, they haven't scored a touchdown against a Power 4 team yet. So, and I mean, with the Ole Miss defense they're facing, they could be 0-3 in conference play with 0 touchdowns. It's very possible. I mean, that Ole Miss defense is as elite as any as they've played all year. So, you know, that's been one that I think has surprised me on the negative. I mean, guys, Oklahoma, how bad that, you know, and I know they're 3-1, but I didn't expect them to look so bad. Benching their quarterback. I mean, I don't think that's something many people saw coming.
I think that was a business decision by Jackson Arnold. He wanted to know more of that defensive line.
That too. that too. I wouldn't blame him, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, Hawkins Jr. came in and made some plays, but he took some punishment for it too. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, Kentucky's been the one that's been really disappointing in regards to like overachieving. Who's looked better? I mean, I will tell you guys, like, I thought Tennessee was going to be good. I didn't know they'd look this good this quick. So they've been, I don't know, like, again, am I, like, overly surprised? Not necessarily, but the way Tennessee is beating people, like, to a pulp, essentially, and then going to Norman and just completely controlling the game, which, by the way, I'll tell you guys, and I love it. I love the passion from Vols fans. I mean, we felt it, you know, since the launch of SEC Unfiltered, felt it in Omaha for the College World Series, felt it all football season. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's what makes Tennessee fans one of the best fan bases in the conference. Nobody keeps bookmarks or receipts like Tennessee fans because I picked Tennessee to go 10-2 over the summer, and one of those losses, yes, was to Oklahoma, but had them in the playoffs, great year. And I got people commenting on a post that's like 2 months old. How'd that work out? And I'm like, I picked Tennessee to win the week of the game, man. Like, what? Like, what? Anyways, I love it. It's awesome.
That may be a little backfire, or backfire is probably not the right word, but a little like residual left over from I can't remember his name, one of your writers over there.
Yeah, the Rocky Flop.
He announced Rocky Flop.
Andrew Wright. Yeah, that was
for those that are watching.
So funny. Again, that was. I mean, listen, I'll gladly hold the L. I mean, it's my business, my entity, but I'm like, man, like, you know what's getting overshadowed? I picked Tennessee to win the SEC East and go to Omaha before the season ever started. Nobody remembers that. So
I
you just got to throw him under the bus. It was all him. It had nothing to do with you.
No, I think that makes you look better. I mean, listen, you said I don't agree with this article, but he wrote it. I'm going to post it. Where we do what we got to do here, and
and we owned it, and you know,
sure.
He doubled down and was like, well, I'm not going to I'm not going to follow up on this article unless they win the national championship. And I'm like, the night they won it, I was like, well, I mean,
got to write another one.
Time to get to typing, buddy. So it was it was fun though, man. And that, you know, not to get too much to baseball, that baseball team was electric, man. It was so cool hanging out with Tony V and Simo and you know, Drew Beam and all those guys. That was a really, really fun experience for us. And that was funny how that worked out. But
see if you can get him to write another Rocky Flop article about March of next year.
I was about to say, I had people reaching out to me before the football season saying, can you please do one for football?
Please, yeah.
So, you know.
It only took one, but we have come to an agreement, so we are addicted to winning national championships.
Yeah. It's not too bad, right? Winning's pretty fun. First sources, pretty fun. But,
right.
No, I mean, I would say, again, Tennessee's really impressed. Kentucky's disappointed. South Carolina's looked better than I thought they would, honestly. Like, I didn't know the defense and the defensive front would look that good. So, but we're going to really start finding out, guys. I mean, it's, you know, we're starting to get into – and LSU's disappointed, I'll be honest. The way they can't run the football and, you know, it's unfortunate you lose Harold Perkins. But, So we've gotten a little bit of it, but I'm really excited the fact now, like we're starting to get in the meat of the schedule. And we're going to start to really separate who are the contenders, who are the pretenders, and that to me, that's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Last question, Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered, at least for me. I guess I won't speak for Landon here. SEC, they've got, I guess as it stands currently, looks like could get 5 in. Doubt you get 6 in, but you got a 6 on the cusp there. How many teams does the SEC get into the college football playoff when it's all said and done? And can we revoke the whole non-Power 4 auto bid now that Matthew Saluka is officially gone from UNLV? Because that's insane.
Yeah.
That I mean, obviously, I don't think they'll be that now, but if they were and their top quarterback left, that's crazy.
Yeah, you lose your college football playoff card for doing that. Yeah, the auto bid thing is interesting, but I would go 5 SEC teams right now, guys. I don't think there's any way you get more than 5. I mean, as much as we'd love to see it, unfortunately, this isn't Omaha, where over half the field is going to be SEC. But I think 5. I mean, 4 for sure is going to get in. I think 5 will probably get in. But I mean, it's all going to work itself out. No matter whether you think 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. We're going to find out on the field, man. And I think what's going to make it fascinating is as we come down the stretch and these games that were already so important to us all, they're going to have just such a different meaning now. And, we're going to be arguing resumes, guys. I mean, my super hot take before the season was, we'd have 7 SEC teams win 10 or more games, Ole Miss and Mizzou getting left out because the resumes just, I mean, if Missouri goes 10-2 and they've kind of looked the way they have, though, you're like, I mean, do they really deserve to? Let's just say, for example, if Tennessee were to go 10-2, let's just say that happened. There's just no way you can compare those resumes and be like, these are equal. There's just no way. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of interesting debate down the stretch. I mean, obviously, if you want to lock your spot up, get that 11th win. But I would go with 5 right now. I think there are 5 SEC teams. Those top 5 I mentioned, I feel good about saying I think those top 5 are probably in the playoff this season.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
No disagreement.
And a home playoff game on Rocky Top. I can't imagine how Neyland's going to be.
I was about to say, I did say one last question, real quick follow-up. Would you rather, as a fan of a team, would you rather have the auto bid bye, or would you rather play the home playoff game? I think the caveat has to be you don't play in the championship game, so you don't have that extra game. You're just the third-place team. You get to host a playoff, or would you take the auto bid, take the bye? You're automatically in the quarters.
I would go home playoff game.
Yes.
There's just nothing like it, man. There's going to be nothing like it. It's going to be really cool too for, I think a lot of these, or a good number of these schools, that it's going to be the biggest game in school history if they were to host a home playoff game, right? So
it's making me nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's when Tennessee's got to pull the dark mode out and just fully embrace the madness that will be.
Yeah. Every curse known to man, we're just going to bring them all out. Payne will be there. I guess that curse is over with baseball, so shout out Tony V for breaking all the curses. So.
Yeah, exactly. Tony V will have to kind of like flip the coin or something to start the game off. So, So, I mean, it's the home playoff game. I think you got to go with that. At least you got to at least do that once, right? Like you got to do that once. That's just too cool not to have that on your home field. But that's the beautiful thing, man. I'm excited for the playoff. Everybody's got a chance once you get in. It's kind of like baseball. It's a new season, and just kind of roll the dice and see what happens and see how you set up with the bracket. But it's going to make for some wild drama, guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to see how it all unfolds. We appreciate you coming on, Chris. It's Chris Phillips with SEC Unfiltered. I know you can find him on Twitter, YouTube, anywhere else I'm leaving out.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok even, podcasts, wherever you get those as well, and SECUnfiltered.com. So really, wherever you get your content, wherever you find more important issues, you can find SEC Unfiltered there as well. Guys, I'll let you know for sure about next weekend. If we're in Fayetteville, obviously, would love to see all the great Tennessee fans as well out there, you guys who I think sounds like y'all will be there. And as we get closer, certainly we'll be locking down that date, but I would say about 99% sure we'll be third Saturday in October. SEC Unfiltered will be embarking upon the beautiful city of Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'll make my return trip to Beans. Haven't been in a while, so it'll be good.
Love it. We'll save a spot for you at 5 a.m. at the tailgate too, Chris.
5 a.m. All right, cool.
We appreciate it, man. Be safe this weekend in Alabama. pick up some. If you're coming this way in October, go ahead and pick up some cigars. We like to get them behind enemy lines. Have a good one, man.
Boys,
Appreciate it.
I've got a humidor at the house, man. I'll stock up and we'll bring some for all the boys. So
Heck
it'll be a
yeah.
good time.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all keep the great work.
Thanks, man.
That's Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Make sure you go follow him, check him out. We appreciate it. Enjoyed collaborating with him over the years. Excited to get to do more of it since he's covering all the teams. Guys, stick with us. We're going to talk some more college football week 5. Talked about some of the big games coming up. We'll talk more on the other side of this break. It's More Important Issues on Fan Run Radio. Welcome back into More Important Issues here on Fan Run Radio. It's week 5 in college football. This is a week 5. This is a pretty good slate. I'm pleased. I don't know where the rest of you guys stand on it. Listeners, Joey, Landon, I don't know where you're at on it. This isn't one I'll complain about. I mean, obviously you have the big night game in Alabama and Georgia, but you also have some good games throughout the day. You have Virginia Tech, Miami, which I don't think is going to be a good game, but you get to see Cam Ward play again, so that's fun.
Yeah, I think it's a game where it's a lot of Power 4 matchups that you haven't really seen up to this point. So I think, Chris was right. Like, this is really the time you're getting in the meat of people's schedules. And, yeah, is there a ton of great matchup this week? No, but there's going to be chaos, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah, you said it, and then going back into what Chris said there, you're finding out more about teams. So the games will get more exciting, but this week on its own is exciting. Let's run through this slate real quick. I mentioned Virginia Tech, Miami. Big Ten matchup, Washington, Rutgers. I'm mentioning that because Rutgers is 3-0. And I haven't watched any Rutgers, so I'm sure it's not been pretty, but we know last week, pretty shouldn't matter. It's the record. They're 3-0. How have they not gotten a single vote in the top 25? I think Josh Pate's the one who's kind of leading that charge of what is going on. It's a Power 4 football team that's won 3 games, lost none, and they're getting – I'm not calling for them to get love, but winner record's going to matter, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Can you say their name one more time?
Rutgers?
There you go. I heard Rutgers for the first all 3 times. It's Rutgers, so I just want to make sure.
I feel like I'm sorry. I didn't mean to skip out on the G. I feel like I tried. I apologize.
Okay. Just making sure.
I think it might be the Akron, Howard, and Virginia Tech by 3. Which you have said Virginia Tech. The only team worse than Vanderbilt was Virginia Tech.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't believe they're actually worse. That feels like a game they win 9 times out of 10, but you lost to them. And records matter, Landon.
Yeah, that's true. I just think resume. Tennessee doesn't have. They've beat some cupcakes too, but they also beat Oklahoma and NC State. Rutgers needs just one more win, I think, to get in that top 25, and that comes this week.
But you agree it's absurd that Notre Dame was in the top 25 with a loss in Northern Illinois.
I think what's more absurd is we continue to put Notre Dame in the top 5 or 10 every year.
They should be required by law to start outside the top 25 from now on. I'm all again.
Work your way up.
Records matter. I'm all good with them getting in with wins, but they shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt any longer.
Agreed.
I'm only going to mention this one: Holy Cross and Syracuse. Do you know who played quarterback for Holy Cross last year?
Is it Tyson Bagent?
No, it's the man of the hour, Matthew Sluka.
Oh.
Sluka, is that how you say his name?
I think so.
I'm saying that, and now I'm like,
it's Sluka.
Is he Holy Cross? Yeah, he was Holy Cross last year. Yeah. Other than that, don't care about that game. Wisconsin USC. I feel like this is USC by 1 million. It's 15.5 current spread, but I do like the idea of both of them trying to not look as bad as they did recently.
Who's this?
Wisconsin USC. USC obviously took it on the chin against Michigan. Wisconsin took it on the chin and everything else against Alabama. I feel like this is for Wisconsin more than USC. I guess if USC lost, it would confirm like, hey, we are okay.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what to think about USC. I was like, oh, they're pretty good, but now LSU doesn't look good, and then USC looked horrible against Michigan, and then they turn it on in the late in that game to kind of make it close, and I'm like, is this team decent, or are they just like the typical USC Lincoln Riley team who is good in a few games but can't win anything
and
that matters?
I get, and I am I'm of that same thought that, okay, LSU's not as good as we thought in week 1. But I also, similar to Tennessee's 10-point win over Oklahoma, USC wins by 7. After the first quarter, it really did not feel like LSU was going to win that football game.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that score is entirely indicative of the game. But USC doesn't. I don't know what to do with them because I still saw that team in week 1 or week 0, whatever that was. That was week 1. Right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody was like, "Hey, a playoff team," and now I'm like,
they're not. Hey, they're not out. They're not out. Speaking of playoff teams, Notre Dame, they're still going to get that love. They're done. You can't lose to NIU if they were in the ACC. I don't care if they play the ACC schedule. If they were in the ACC, I'd feel differently. You are not a Power 4 football team. You don't get to lose to NIU and make the playoff. Louisville 3-0.
Also going back to NIU plays NC State this week.
Uh-oh. Who did NIU lose to last week?
That was their trap game. Was it Buffalo?
Buffalo.
It was Buffalo.
Shout out Danny White. Looking around the SEC a little more, Oklahoma, Auburn. I am interested. This is a fun game for Tennessee fans because you have the common opponent theme here. Kind of see what stacks up. I do think you might see a little bit of different Oklahoma team on offense. I think you get a little bit of that freshman magic you were referring to.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that maybe not the same, but it's still fun to compare. This is a pick'em game. It's at Auburn. I think Oklahoma wins it because of that defensive front. There's no way Hank Brown, Peyton Thorne, whoever they start, whoever they play, pick a fan. It doesn't matter. Cam Newton can come back.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, I don't think, in this game.
You can
They're
see
just bad.
what teams have already given up when you see the tickets are as low as $20 to get in that game.
What time is that game? Is that a nooner? No, it's 3:30. Come on, guys, get out there for that game. That's a good one. Obviously, Tennessee's eyes are going to be more focused on Arkansas at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, another team I'm not quite sure what to do with at this point. I don't think they're good. I don't know if they're as terrible as I originally thought.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have no clue.
Good's not quite in the category,
Right.
but terrible. I don't think that's in my language any longer either. TCU, Kansas, sure. Colorado, UCF. Colorado goes to Orlando. The only reason I mention this because we have friends going down there for that game. That would have been I'd rather go to an SEC stadium in my spare time, but that'd be a fun one to attend in the bounce house.
Yeah.
In the hurricane, the eye of the hurricane.
14-point favorites too.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter not playing? I mean,
I don't know, man.
that seems. I'm not saying Colorado's good, but a 14 points seems like
That's a lot. I don't
That
know
is
what's
a lot.
happening.
yeah,
And they won in the rain. They'll be fine.
yeah.
UNLV, Fresno State, again, only mentioning that one because of the absolute mayhem that has started. Now everyone's like, oh, NIL's ruining college football. We don't even know the full story. Also, like this didn't happen before NIL. It was just a different reason last time.
Yeah, not sure what happened. I did read where they were supposed to give him $100K to transfer, and they gave him $3,000 to relocate, and that's all he's received.
Yeah, and
Which $97,000, I think I'm with the quarterback on this one.
Well, then I saw apparently they never agreed to $100,000. Then they agreed to $3,000 a month, but he only seen $3,000. I don't know. It's a mess. I'm curious to see what happens. There's two stories right now, two sides to every story.
Get your
Truth's
NIL
usually somewhere in the
ironed
middle.
out is my advice.
Yeah, for sure. Also, go gamble that $3,000 on the strip, and maybe you win 97. Who knows?
There you go. Yeah.
That was your NIL.
I mean, that's what the thing that's crazy to me about all that is Las Vegas is the team, like, not paying the bill. That's
Right.
crazy.
Right. A few other games I want to mention here. You have Illinois, Penn State. Illinois, Brett Bielema.
Big
Is he for real? And then you also have Texas has the most generous welcome part of the SEC with what sneakily might be the worst team in the SEC. I said it was Vanderbilt. It could be Mississippi State. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We won't find out this week because they're going to get destroyed. Best, worst, doesn't matter. They're not good enough. And then I want to throw out, just because I love saying games like this, big-time ACC matchup, Stanford and Clemson. I just love that that's a conference matchup.
Yeah, wasn't it Stanford, Syracuse?
I think so.
And it was
that.
just like neither one of these teams should be in the ACC.
Well, Syracuse is on the Atlantic coast.
Yeah, but they were like a Big East for a long time. And now they're ACC.
Right. Let's get to some questions, and in the meantime, tell us what you're most excited for in Week 5 of college football. If it's Alabama losing, I'm with you, brother.
Same.
Don't care if it's Georgia winning. That hurts, but I'll take the Alabama loss.
Are you going to go with – are you – I think I'm
a little torn because I think Alabama's offense is going to do okay. Like, I think they're going to do well against Georgia's defense.
I just think it's
being at home.
Kirby Smart is not losing to Alabama again with Nick Saban not on the sideline. That's where I'm going with it.
No, I think I'm going to pick Georgia to win, but I am curious to see what Jalen Milroe and that Alabama offense does.
Yeah.
They've got a nice rushing attack. Jalen Milroe looks better than he did last year, and now does that hold up in conference play? Let's find out. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think this is. I don't think this is a game where someone's looking at it and going, Alabama's overrated. Georgia's going to control the line of scrimmage. I mean, this Alabama team is still a similar roster to last year. It's very much a team built by Nick Saban for his purposes, and it's just a new guy in charge who I think is a good football coach. I don't know if it'll sustain in terms of where he's at and situation, but I think he's a good football coach.
Yeah, agreed. Excited for that one. Question. This is for everybody, Joey, you included. I saw this week, and I think it's super interesting. If you are an SEC program with a head coaching vacancy, How many guys are you calling around the country before you call Josh Heupel?
I mean, his job is so secure that, like,
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
no thought of him leaving in my mind.
No, I know, but I'm saying like you make the call. Like you're say Florida,
Right.
you make calls. They tell you no. How many people are you
So,
calling before you
6.
get to Josh Heupel? 6.
Yeah.
Who are they though?
I'd call Kirby Smart before.
Sure, got to. Active head coaches. We're not doing Nick
Right.
Saban.
I would consider calling Steve Sarkisian. That's
Yeah.
not for sure, but that would be up there with him.
I agree with
And this isn't like young guys I'm looking at thinking they could. This is proven winners that like I'm doing my due diligence. I'm going to call the agent, ask if there's a number, kind of deal.
Lane Kiffin.
Lane's probably in that same conversation for me with Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
I could see Heupel in front of him, could see him behind him.
What team is it? Any SEC team? Because
I'm just saying like Florida is probably going to
Someone
have
with the
a vacancy.
bankroll,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Dion. Maybe, you never know.
An interesting one that I think will get some talk when some SEC vacancies happen is, and he's a little more in that realistic one, but I think he's at a big-time program, up-and-coming, Stan Lanning.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think he's above Josh Heupel, but I think he's up there.
It's close, yeah.
I think
Is DeBoer?
he's not with Sarkisian and Kiffin in my mind,
Yeah.
like that close, where I'm probably taking those two before Heupel, but he's...
Is DeBoer up there?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama called him, so he has to be, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'm calling Jim Harbaugh. I don't care.
Yeah.
Bring him with you.
But is Ryan Day in that conversation?
Yes, Ryan Day is definitely in that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
There's not a lot.
Sure, Ryan Day.
You say James Franklin?
Oh, there we go. My mic lights off. Yeah, why not? Let's just bring it back in the conversation. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
I'm not even. Listen, if he makes playoff, we'll talk.
Mike Gundy?
No, I'm
just get a raise.
Yeah, Mike Gundy's never leaving Oklahoma State. That's been made clear. There's another name I had pop in, and now it's gone. Oh well, no, I was gonna say something about Ryan Day. Yes, dude was born. Dude,
Brian Kelly?
Brian Kelly? Absolutely not.
I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah,
there.
no, absolutely not.
Because there's some people that probably think so.
Right, absolutely not.
Okay.
Never would I ever. He would be very down low on my list. In fact, he'd probably have to pay me. He's been proven to be mediocre at best. But Ryan Day, sure, he was born on third base, but I mean, let's not pretend he hasn't still won a lot of football games.
Yeah, that's true. True.
Should have beat Georgia in the semifinal.
Yep.
Is that the only question? Sorry.
Well, we got some more, but we got to wrap this thing up.
Can we save them, or are they time?
Yeah,
time
we can
constrained?
save 'em. We
Okay.
can save 'em.
Real quick, my stupidity. I've got two. Colin Coward, shut up. Stop talking about Tennessee. We hate you. Colin Coward. He's a coward. I think he's doing this on purpose. That's one of my stupidities.
Okay.
My next one is Gabe Ickard tweeting about Chris Hammond's wearing Tennessee gear on Saturday. Former Oklahoma tight end, also Survivor contestant. And best friend or good friends, it looks like best friends with Josh Heupel. And by the sounds of this, so he said, some of y'all think I'm joking. This is not first he said something about Chris Hammond's, not wearing Oklahoma gear and instead wearing Tennessee gear. Wearing another team's gear on our field, effing BS. Chris Hammond's responded, made a promise to someone that meant a great deal to me. She was every bit a mom. She asked me to be on the sidelines in Tennessee colors with Josh because she wouldn't be able to. I promised I would be there for her. Then I said I love you and goodbye to her for the last time. Maybe know the full story before you open your mouth, Gabe. And then he doubled down. He's like, I don't agree with it. Me and Chris talked, and I don't agree with it, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, he said, Chris and I talked. He explained why. I still disagree with his decision. It is what it is. Moving on. How can you disagree with his decision?
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
So let's just in your world, Gabe, you promised that to your best friend's mom, someone who's mothered you, and you wouldn't wear it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're a scumbag, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And
if you hate moms, you suck.
Yeah. And listen, you can disagree with that decision, but you kind of look like a douchebag doing it. So
you
just
are.
be quiet about it.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Doubling down's crazy.
Doubling down's crazy.
POS move.
If you guys learn anything from this, let's learn to disagree quietly in this world.
Why can't we just learn, like, can people just be wrong? Like, I don't understand why people just have to be right about everything. Like,
You're wrong about that.
yeah, like doubling down, like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Another
and you would have looked like a nice and cool dude if you'd said, "Hey, I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
I'm obviously passionate about Oklahoma. I want everybody to be as passionate as I am. I'm sorry I said that."
Yeah, or
You looked like a
I
cool
would have done
dude.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I made that comment. Hugh Freeze, another stupid comment. He's my stupidity. He says, "I love Sam Pittman. I hope he wins the rest of his games. But I'm telling you the hard truth is we play Arkansas 9 more times. We beat them 9 times, and that's what's hard to take." You can't say that after you lose by
That's a borderline 5-star hearts comment.
dude.
Champions alive comment.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't.
You can say that to your team in a closed meeting. You can't say that to the media.
Yeah, it's. Hugh Freeze already losing in Arkansas. I hate to see it. All right. Well, anything else?
That's it for me,
Joe,
guys.
you got anything?
Nope.
All right.
Enjoy
Guys,
your bye
thank
week.
y'all. Yeah, enjoy the bye week. Win the bye week.
We'll see you on Saturday.
See you
Everybody
on
come out to the
Saturday.
tournament. You can win this helmet signed by
can.
Tony V himself.
Check out our sponsors, Autograph, Rowback, Grade A Grounds. We love those guys. Go check them out. We're bringing the boat in, and we out.
Spray